Ladies and gentlemen, hello again, front row. Welcome to Sony and welcome to our presentation on the F-65 digital motion picture camera. The F-65 represents a defining moment in cinematography thanks to an 8K 20 megapixel imager and 16-bit linear raw recording. Now, in just a few months, nearly 400 F-65s have been ordered worldwide by the biggest rental houses and owner-operators. It's being used on big-budget features, such as M. Night Shyamalan's After Earth and Universal Pictures' Oblivion. There are plans to use the camera in episodic television, and the F-65 has been shooting music videos, commercials, and a whole lot more. So let's take a look at why the F-65 has triggered so much interest. First is the 8K sensor, with the world's highest resolution at 20 megapixels. This astounding resolution enables the F-65 to deliver the highest quality HD images, and it makes this the only camera that creates true 4K. Now, you might expect a camera with such high resolution to sacrifice latitude or signal-to-noise ratio, but thanks to Sony CMOS sensor innovations, there is no sacrifice. The F-65 has a sensitivity of 800 ISO, the latitude is an incredible 14 stops, and the signal-to-noise ratio is exceptional. And this summer, we'll be extending frame rates up to 120 frames per second with no need to window the imager. In other words, you're still shooting 8K RAW, but even at 120p. Now, thanks to the built-in rotary shutter, the F-65 eliminates artifacts such as flash banding and the dreaded jello effect. There are also 4 internal ND filters. The F-65's color gamut is not only wider than any other electronic cinematography camera, it's even wider than 35mm print film. Now, in addition, you can control the camera wirelessly with our free app for the iPad or your Android-based tablets. And the F-65 works in conjunction with Sony's SR-R4 SR Master Recorder. So, if unsurpassed picture quality is your highest priority, you'll appreciate the R4's ability to record 16-bit linear RAW in an unprecedented 8K resolution. A 16-bit recording is also the perfect gateway into 16-bit IIF ACES, the Academy color encoding specification that is revolutionizing post. In fact, the F-65 is built from the ground up to support IIF ACES. Now, raw recording is ideally suited for theatrical features as it retains the F-65's full 8K resolution straight from the sensor. And now, Sony is pleased to announce that we are adding raw light mode. Now, this is a smaller file size version of our lightly compressed RAW. A free upgrade, raw light combines the quality of RAW with the flexibility of a lower data rate. Now, with the SR-R4, 16-bit linear RAW is really just the beginning. There's also high-definition recording as SR files. As the file-based version of HDCam SR recording, SR files take advantage of the well-established HDCam SR post-production pipeline. So this becomes a smart choice for episodic television. Now, today the SR-R4 records the SR codec at 440 megabits per second, 444 RGB 10-bit. But here at NAB, we are announcing another free upgrade, the option to record 422 at 220 and 440 megabits per second. Then in the summer, we'll be supporting an 880 megabit option with 444 RGB 12-bit recording. Now, with 2 levels of raw recording and a total of 4 flavors of the SR codec, the F-65 and the SR-R4 give you recording options like no other system. So you're not locked into just one recording format, and there's no need for different recorders to support different projects. Now, the SR-R4 records onto Sony's SR memory cards. SR memory cards are versatile, with a choice of capacities from 256 gigabytes to 1 terabyte, and that's enough to hold up to an hour of 16-bit linear RAW at 24p. You also get a choice of sustained recording speeds up to 5.5 gigabits per second, and powerful data protection. This is one remarkable memory card. Now, once all your data is on SR memory cards, what do you do next? Well, Sony understands that a great camera deserves a powerful, flexible post-production path. And that is why, right from the start, the F-65 is supported by robust workflows and the biggest names in post. In fact, there are 3 distinct, fully developed workflows for the F-65, which we call feature film, episodic television, and owner-operator. So let's start with the workflow most often used for feature films. Now, this workflow is used by big post houses when the highest picture quality is needed. The F-65 solution is a complete 16-bit raw workflow from capture all the way through finishing. In fact, you're covered even before you leave the set. On-set dailies systems can generate DPX files, Blu-ray disc media, even streaming to an iPad or Android-based tablet with LUTs. And with the F-65, you can take advantage of dailies systems from Assimilate, Blackmagic, Colorfront, Filmlight, MTI Film, and Yoyoda. In addition to specialized solutions from PhotoChem, Light Iron, and others. When it comes to editorial, you can natively edit F-65 RAW with Adobe Premiere, Avid Media Composer, or Symphony using soon-to-be-released plugins. Now, for color grading of native F-65 RAW files, you can use Assimilate Scratch, DaVinci Resolve, Filmlight Baselight, and Quantel Popping. Now, our second workflow scenario is most commonly used in episodic television, or when you require speed and efficiency to handle the unrelenting pressures of a weekly schedule. A broad support in the post community and HD resolution as well. Now, here is where SR files really come into their own. SR files can play easily on a laptop. They can also go straight to edit on a host of popular NLEs, including Apple Final Cut Pro, Avid Media Composer via AMA, and of course Sony Vegas. In addition, Assimilate Scratch, Blackmagic Resolve, and Filmlight Baselight color correction systems accept SR files directly. Alright, what if you are both the cinematographer and you're the editor? What if your post house is your computer? Welcome to the owner-operator workflow. Now, the F-65's RAW and SR files are natively supported by a variety of editing and color grading software options, and by a suite of tools that make the process fast and easy. Simply take the SR memory cards out of the recorder and insert them directly into the SR PC4 transfer station. Connect an HD monitor to the SR PC4, and then you can play back files, including 8K RAW files in real time. You can even apply LUTs that you've created with free Sony software. Use the station to transfer RAW or SR file material to your PC or your Mac via a simple Ethernet connection, or you can use the PCIe option slot with a 10 gig Ethernet or eSATA card for a direct backup of files to a standalone drive. Now, you can also control playback from the laptop or wirelessly from an iPad or Android-based tablet. Now, new at NAB is Sony's SR-D1 drive. Now, this connects to a host computer via standard eSATA or USB 3.0 connections, and then it enables you to use your computer to view content directly from SR memory cards. You can also transfer assets onto your computer by a simple drag and drop operation. Now, another great tool is the F-65's RAW Viewer software. Now, this plays back RAW files on your PC or your Mac, and you can use this free software to review and log footage, or you can start the color grading process while you're still in the field, and then you can save your adjustments to a color decision list. And you can transcode your RAW footage as 10 or 16-bit DPX files or 32-bit OpenEXR files. Alright, so no matter if your workflow is handled by a major Hollywood post house or you're flying solo, the F-65 is ready to go right now. But you don't have to take my word for it. Let's listen now to some industry leaders.
F-65 footage, for me, has been very straightforward. I can bring the SR file footage directly into Final Cut and put it onto a timeline and begin to do an offline cut. If I'm working with the raw files, I can bring those into the finishing system that I normally use and actually just transfer it out from there. So it's been a very straightforward and I think very easy process.
When you have new cameras that come out and give us more pixels, we can reset the bar and experience all over again, re-ask ourselves, could we see this before? And now we can see things that we thought was okay. One mantra that we have at Light Iron is everything looks great until you see something better.
I definitely wouldn't be scared working with this footage. With some other cameras, you're limited to range, which you can color correct. Basically painted into the corner when you just capture it. With this camera, I can pretty much go anywhere. Feel comfortable with my clients, being able to manipulate one way or another, on keys, changing colors completely on certain things. Certain other cameras, you can't get away with that. They just start to fall apart immediately.
The incorporation of SR memory and SSTP in the camera allows episodic TV to shoot and make a show just as simply as they would if they were using ProRes or DNx HD or whatever other compression code. SSTP, Sony's SR master file format, is tried and tested in the world of tape. It's now going to be an integral part of file-based work on TV episode productions and independent shows and commercials.
The interesting thing about the F-65 is the quality stands out more than anything. There is wide support for the camera already in MXF files, color front base like currently needed to deal with it. We've had no issues putting the files through our pipeline and beautiful results.
With the F-65, we are in a range where we hit the wide color space of digital cinema projectors. So we deliver the result in the DI our client is asking us for. We then, in our toolbox, have lookup tables to make digital acquired pictures look like film. We can add grain, take noise away, change color gamuts, change the gamma of a picture, and get there where the client wants us to be.
Well, we don't have to reinvent the workflow with the new camera. The F-65 works with our frame logic, so we can again convert into a VPX frame or a TIP frame and work with our existing pipeline.
What I like about F-65 in terms of its ability to change from an 8K camera, give you 4K files, or go HD, to capture RAW, or to capture RGB, to capture 10 megs a frame, or 10 megs a second, means that it has the ability to transcend between different classes, which means for users that aren't ready for 8K RAW files right now, it doesn't mean that the camera is not going to work for you. It simply means you're going to start at one component of the spectrum, use the same camera, learn and master that camera, and then as the projects progress and you get more of a handle on it and the facility around you gets more acclimated to the process, I think you'll find a lot of people very comfortably upgrading themselves so that they are able to eventually move everyone with 8K raw image capture, which is something that I think is important for this industry.
Clearly, the F-65 is supported by just about everyone in post and at every level of production. But let's take a deeper look now into an actual F-65 project. So let's follow the raw footage from the camera all the way to delivery as we look behind the scenes of the short film El Dorado.
Time to use the F-65, we're able to demonstrate dynamic range, we were able to demonstrate the superiority of 4K spatial resolution. That does matter in terms of storytelling. You particularly want to have subtle textured details and be able to have that definition in conjunction with dynamic range. The difference between when we shot The Arrival and when we shot El Dorado is that we now have the ability to use the 16-bit SR memory recording capability, which enables us to capture everything the camera can output. When we started grading El Dorado, what was particularly interesting is having the flexibility of the 16-bit image that we captured from the camera in this workflow, which enabled us to take full advantage of the subtle color transitions and the color palette, particularly on the exteriors and fire scenes. because it has such pastel colors, and it was able to reproduce those colors in a very, very subtle, graceful way, and extended palette that I think was indicative of what we were able to do with 16-bit color. So whether we're dealing with the more saturated colors that existed in the Las Vegas scenes, the more primary, vivid, richer, saturated colors, the interesting contrast was how it handled those colors so effectively, in addition to, in conjunction with the more subtle pastel color palette that exists in the Valley of Fire. I think the dynamic of that color rendering was enabled by the fact that we had 16-bit color to begin with. One of the most remarkable things about the F-65 is that it was designed from the ground up to take full advantage of the ACE's workflow, which is an innovative approach that's going to enable filmmakers to retain the integrity of the images that they capture from their digital sources and or film scans, and be able to protect that image dynamic range, the bit depth, throughout the entire workflow process, to be able to have maximum creative possibilities for the project that they're working on.
In other projects with other camera formats, there's always a process. Whatever you acquire on, you have to switch it to get it in editorial. And the easier that process is, in the beginning, makes getting dailies a lot quicker. And also means going back to the conform process and marrying back to that 16-bit raw easily. Project with everything dialed in, with the SR memory and everything, it worked perfect.
One of the great features of the F-65 is extremely low noise, and having the low noise in all the different color channels, with the full resolution of the green channel, the blue channel is extremely quiet, making low light shadows, especially evening shots and low lights, are extremely clean. I've looked at all the different digital capture cameras, done a lot of testing on all of them, done a lot of movies with all of them, and they all try to rival film. I found the F-65 to be the only one that not only rivals but surpasses film in a lot of ways.
Using the Ultimate Art and the F-65 as our border was a perfect combination. The complexity of the shot required that we have the right balance on the head and the arm so that we can actually do very, very complex maneuvers. And in fact, I think the size of the camera is particularly good for Steadicam and Ultimate Art, because if the camera is too small for Steadicam, it can be a little problematic in terms of balance. So the weight distribution of the F-65 with the R4 on Steadicam, I think, works particularly well. It's a new terrain, it's a new frontier, it's something that changes our landscape, opens up options that the other two have not had. So I'm very excited about that.
To experience the range of post-production options for the F-65, please visit the SR Master workflow stations to your left. A few steps further, and you'll arrive at the Cinema Camera stage, where you can get hands-on experience with the F-65. And to see just what this remarkable camera can do, I recommend watching El Dorado in the Sony digital cinema projector, on the projector in our 4K theater just over there. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we hope that you agree that the F-65 workflow perfectly complements the camera's incredible imagery. And whether your next project is a feature, a series, or anything that demands the finest in cinematography, we hope you'll consider the F-65. Thank you for your kind attention, and have a great rest of your day.